Hello and welcome everyone, we Weeb online, and today I'm gonna continue the story What If Naruto Did the Legendary Summoning Part 2. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Haruzen, the third made a turn. Ah, Danzo, good morning, and thank you for not objecting to my Chunin exams promotion slate. The old warhawk cocked his brow. It was the least I could do. I was wrong, old friend. I thought Konoha's forces would be too vulnerable if they were allowed to soften in the decade of peace. You know how I wished for the Kyuubi Jinchuriki to be entered into root. But here we are, in the aftermath of an invasion and essentially no worse off. All thanks to that will of fire that I dismissed as meaningless garbage. Danzo straightened. However, I have discovered that a number of ninja were overlooked by the system for years, and appear to have become emotionally conditioned by unknown actors. I am unsure why, but I believe I should bring it to your attention. Sarutobi smiled quietly to himself. You never let anything slip that could possibly incriminate you, Danzo. Okay, fine, I'll incorporate them into existing squads once tested. Jiraiya tossed Naruto a scroll. This is your Chunin vest, Sensei gave it to me as I left. Feel free to modify it as you see fit. I certainly did. Naruto smiled. Hell yeah, I did it. Do you know who else did? Both your teammates made Chunin as well. But apparently your team is being kept together as essentially a cohesive squad. At least until people feel less embarrassed taking orders from you. Neji didn't, but I don't think he noticed. That summon trick you used on him made him so out of it that he didn't even notice the invasion. Jiraiya pondered. Hinata did, Ino did not, Tenten and Lee both did, and it was felt that attempting to invade the village meant that the Sand Genin might get promoted by their own village rather than ours. Wow, that's not bad. That reminds me, I believe your friend, Gaara, is being groomed to be the next Kasuke. Naruto's eyes blinked. Wait, he's my age. How can they be happy with a 12-year-old in charge of a village? First, he never sleeps, so his experience is closer to 16 or 18. Second, this is Suna, the people who took a puppet show and turned it into a combat art. Fair point. Gaara, like me, is a Jinchuriki son of our respective villages Yondiame Cage, and now he's becoming a Cage. Naruto gave a thumbs up. I like this style. Sasuke walked into the hospital room where Kakashi was being treated. Sensei, if you were in a difficult fight, you should have called on us, we can help. Ayaba burst into the room at that precise moment. Is it true that Uchiha Itachi was in Konoha and is now looking for the Kyuubi container? Kakashi blanched and turned to face his student. The only thing there was a hastily hung sign that read, Captain, I would like to request use of my first day of leave from duties due to a family matter. An 8-foot hawk cawed and flew past the window. Damn, Kakashi said as he sank back into his bed. Guy, let us have a youthful competition to see who can catch my youthful subordinate first. Guy jumped through the wall, exclaiming, Yash. Asuma examined Kakashi. Are you essentially bedridden? Kakashi nodded and reached for a book. I suppose that means he'll win. Good thing I speak youth. Naruto groggily pushed open the hotel door. Yeah, what exactly is it? Itachi locked his gaze on him. Are you the container with the 9 tails? No, I just resemble him. An awkward silence ensued. Are you certain? I'm pretty sure. I know the whisker marks are deceptive, but this is all cosplay. Big fan. Really? The awkward atmosphere was broken at that point by a caw and a crash as Sasuke rammed his summon into the corridor through an end wall. Itachi, roared the last loyal Uchiha, igniting a Chidori in his hand. I want to know what happened that night. Itachi sighed. Foolish little brother, I did it to test myself, as I already told you. Nothing to do with that. What was Madara doing there? You don't have enough hatter, wait, what? Wow, Itachi, Kasama said, laughing. That's the first time I've ever heard you raise your voice. Itachi spun around and glared at Kasama. Tsukayomi, he yelled back to Sasuke as his partner collapsed. How did you find out about that? We worked it out, but I'm curious why. Why did he want to destroy his own clan? Why did he force the Kyuubi to attack Konoha? Why did you assist him? Itachi took a deep breath after wiping the blood from his eye. You have to understand, Madara is perhaps the most manipulative bastard on the entire planet. The Uchiha clan's planned coup 4 years ago had to be halted, and he wanted to help me out of revenge for their not supporting him decades ago. I never dreamed he would have the entire clan destroyed. Only the elders who were alive at the time. Sasuke locked his gaze on him. Did you read a lot of history books? Not really, no. I didn't have the time when I was caught up in a tug of war between Root, A and BU, and the Uchiha clan. Fair enough, but what about the, oh, excuse me a second. Sasuke dismissed his hawk, earning a slightly irritated finally, and the hotel returned to the location of the summon. Itachi stated, I wasn't going to say anything. Anyway, I now believe he wiped out the entire clan to ensure that he was the only person left who could manipulate tailed beasts. Naruto added his own perspective. Normally, the tailed beasts are just jerks at best. Madara's the reason they all went crazy about 10 years before the Valley of the End battle. I think that ties in. He's trying to isolate them. Itachi gave a nod. Makes sense. After all, if the Biju have been around for nearly 1,000 years and there is still some semblance of civilization, they'd have to be. Kasama groaned quietly in the corner. Itachi paused for a moment before carefully peeling up his eyelid. Tsukuyomi again. Now, where was I? Ah, yes. Akatsuki's plan is to capture and extract the 9 Biju for an unknown purpose. It could be making new hosts, creating a super weapon, or whatever, but the leader wishes to bring peace. Somehow, Naruto smirked. He wants to commit murder repeatedly in order to bring peace. That makes no sense. None taken. Now, my plan was to be really exaggeratedly evil, so that when Sasuke was old enough and came to kill me, he could be seen as redeeming the clan. Since that would leave Madara around, it won't be the end, but it has to be done. Sasuke's fists were clenched. Why do I have to kill you if you're still loyal? Itachi gave a gentle smile. I'm dying anyway. Cancer, I think, exacerbated by the Mangekyou Sharingan. I'll be lucky to live another 4 years. I'm dying anyway. Cancer, I think, exacerbated by the Mangekyou Sharingan. I'll be lucky to live another 4 years. I'm dying anyway. Cancer, I think, exacerbated by the Mangekyou Sharingan. Sasuke nodded, rubbing his eyes angrily. I wish it didn't have to be like this. So do I, but we can't choose our lives, only the paths we take, Itachi said, pulling a set of pamphlets from his pocket. Here are the current Akatsuki members, as well as what I know about them. Naruto kidnapped them. Thank you, but you'd better get going. Indeed. Goodbye, brother. Oh, and if anyone asks, what I made Kasama believe was that I broke Sasuke's arm, hit him with the Tsukuyomi, then Jiraiya showed up just in time to save you too. Of course, all fiction. Hey, exclaimed Jiraiya. I arrived right on time. Only because I'm not the mass-murdering psychopath everyone thought I was, Itachi explained as he hoisted Kasama onto his shoulder and ran away through the hole the hawk had left. You know, that's possibly the most pleasant missing nin I've ever met, Naruto remarked. Sasuke forced a laugh. You've met 3 of them. Kasama counts as 4. Jiraiya approached. Well, that went well. What were your plans if it turned into a fight? Naruto thought about it. I'm sure they'll just start making 2-tail clones and never stop. Sasuke flipped through the brochures. Kasama's sword steals chakra. According to this, it's got to have an absorption limit at some point, Naruto said, pointing to Sasuke. And what exactly are you doing here? I'm taking leave for a family bereavement. I checked, and you get a day for each deceased family member. I have nearly a year saved up. Can you claim Academy earned leave? They don't say, but I'm confident that my case will stand up in court. It's a matter to be handled by the military police because I'm a Uchiha. Naruto's lips moved as he tried to comprehend the logic. That's devious. Guy jumped into the room at that point and knocked Jiraiya out with a boot to the head. Well, Sasuke, Kakashi asked sarcastically, are you finished with your little vacation? In fact, did you know that Itachi possesses the Mangekyou Sharingan, which can mentally torture people for days? Kakashi looked at him. Do you think I'm in the hospital because he did it to me? Damn Uchiha and their broken bloodline limits. You can't talk, you have a Sharingan, and it appears that you're so good at it that it's your nickname. Well, yes, but it's not the Mangekyou Sharingan, exclaimed Kakashi, clutching his headband. That was surprisingly painful, and now I'm getting a sinking feeling, he said, picking up a mirror and removing his one-eye blindfold to reveal a 3-petal design. What the hell happened to that? Sasuke examined it carefully. It's not like Itachi's. It's probably an individual thing, but I'm surprised I have it at all. Itachi said it stemmed from the guilt of killing your best friend, though presumably it's just someone you care about a lot, and was then made permanent by taking your brother's eyes. You're the most teamwork-obsessed person in Konoha. Who the hell did you kill? Kakashi lowered his gaze. I didn't, but I feel responsible for his death. I used to be a punctual loner who despised teamwork, so you can imagine how badly I took it. It was him who gave me this eye as he died to replace the one I lost. Sasuke appeared relieved. That explains the scar, but who was it? Think Naruto, but with a Uchiha instead of a demon container. I'd rather not, Sasuke said after a brief pause. Am I now the sole owner of an unevolved Sharingan on the planet? It appears to be, but I have no idea what mine does. It appears that after I get out of the hospital, I'll be staring at a target and saying every syllable chain in the language. If it helps, Itachi's powers are named after mythological figures. I could take you out with one finger, brat. Naruto made a fist. All aboard. Jiraiya extended his hand. Can we do this a little outside of town? This could get messy. Are you sure you've been training the kid? I've never really needed to. At that point, a Naruto clone appeared. Hey, boss, I found a coin and decided to try my luck at gambling, and I don't think we can actually lose at games of chance. Oh, cool. Maybe get a lottery ticket or something. You got it, exclaimed the clone as he vanished into the crowd. Tsunade smirked. Are you a shadow clone? Yep. All right, brat, make your move. Naruto materialized his two-tailed chakra cloak with a thump. Tsunade nodded to herself absently. He looked familiar, so that must be it. That, or the fact that I'm in Uzumaki, so technically your closest living relative. Naruto responded casually. Well, I'll wait and see if you can beat me with one finger. Okay, fine. I can't beat you with a finger, she said, tearing up a piece of ground and compressing it into a dense ball before flicking it at Naruto with a tearing air boom. It hit his forehead and, while it didn't penetrate the cloak, the sheer force of the impact sent him flying backwards. When his trajectory collided with a rock spire, he crashed back to earth with a thump. Oh, see, kid? Tsunade approached, trailed by her former teammate and current apprentice. It's not easy to defeat a salmon, is it? I got Orochimaru to leave, blew up his zombie Hokages and stopped them from killing the old man. Naruto rubbed his brow, his hand easily passing through the cloak. You hit harder than Sakura. Shizune fixed his gaze. Are you okay? That much blunt force impact would concuss the majority of people. Part of being the container is a pretty sweet passive regeneration, which is kind of necessary because going above about the 3-tail limit still means I start destabilizing. She continued to stare. How are you unconcerned about that? I mean, if I knew my body would break down under the strain of anything, I'd freak out. Name me an S-class ninja who doesn't have something like that. Shizune pondered. The 14th. However, Dad's last technique did kill him, and do you mind sticking to living ninja? What about the 3rd? I was practicing the same technique before I intervened. Jiraiya. Jiraiya raised his head. Sage mode is insufficient for me. I get minor disfigurements such as spontaneous warts and my nose changing size. Shizune had to think long and hard. How about the current Raikage? I don't know much about him, so I have to concede the point, but I'm sure he has something similar in reserve. Naruto leaned back on the rock spire, which began to crumble slightly under the pressure. But you get my point. At the very least, I can fix it. Tsunade was enthralled. Does your regeneration cause you to age faster, like mine? Are you kidding? I'm barely tall enough for 12, let alone 14 or whatever I'd be with that. It's related to shapeshifting, if that helps. Her chin was rubbed. I'd love to research that. Well, if you'd just come back to Konoha, you'd have the chance, and it'd be great for my teammate as well. She's a big fan of yours. Half the Kunoichi in the elemental countries are fans of mine. Brat, I'm one of the only cage rank female ninja, though someone in Mist is apparently getting there. Naruto removed his cloak and took out the pamphlets Itachi had given him. Hold on, there's someone else here. One of Akatsuki's members is female. Wow, blue hair. Jiraiya began with surprise. Let me look at that, Naruto said, handing over the dossiers. Jiraiya exclaimed when he got them. Conan, she's still alive. And an S-class ninja. Tsunade snapped her fingers, trying to recall something. Conan, that amorphan girl with the origami skills. Jiraiya gave a nod. Yes, and while that sounds a little pathetic, keep in mind that explosive tags are made of paper. I have to wonder if the other two are also alive. Wait, this is Yahiko. But with the Rinnegan, this makes no sense. Nagato was the one with the Rinnegan. Is the Rinnegan, like the Sharingan, another of those eye powers? Yes, it's supposed to be the most powerful Dojutsu of all, though given the Mangekyo Sharingan, I'm not sure it can. Jiraiya took Itachi's file. At least most Mangekyo powers are based on the eyes. No, wait, that one makes even less sense than the Rinnegan. Giant 3-armed storm god. Naruto nodded absent-mindedly. How about it, Granny? Will you come back with us? Tsunade groaned. It's pretty obvious that I'm going to end up back in Konoha anyway. And don't call me Granny. What else am I supposed to call you? You're the same age as Jiraiya, and he's clearly 2 generations older than me. And you're a woman related to me, unless you prefer Great Aunt. Tsunade's eyes blinked. I don't think I missed that, which is why you look so familiar. Your father's the fourth, right? When the hell did you talk to him? It appears Minato somehow subverted the commands he was given enough that he and Naruto just had a long chat. Jiraiya chuckled. It was strange to watch, actually, this massive battle going hammer and tongs on one side of the arena, and a kid in a three-tailed chakra cloak and the fourth Hokage just sitting down for a talk on the other. Tsunade laughed. So he's had that opportunity, hasn't he? He's very fortunate. Jiraiya gave a nod. Yeah, but I was wondering, did you ever get over your blood problem? The slug princess shrugged. No, I still freeze up, which isn't the best problem for a medical ninja to have. Naruto smiled. I can fix that. Ninja therapist summoned. Neji appeared in the form of a puff of smoke. Jiraiya exclaimed. Did you say ninja therapist, as in a fox who can help ninja with their emotional problems? She does it a lot, but why is that significant? Shizune knelt to whisper. Naruto, most powerful ninja, in fact, most ninja are, period, and it's nearly impossible to find therapy for them. This may be more significant to medicine than that regeneration thing. Yeah, I guess Sasuke was a little more screwed up before Neji spoke to him. And Sakura, and Gaara, I see your point. Neji was sitting on her haunches next to Tsunade, who was now lying on an earth technique couch. How about you tell me about your mother? Orochimaru surveyed Tanzaku Gai. He was certain that this was where Kabuto had said she'd be, and he needed Tsunade's assistance urgently before Kimimaro fell apart. With no curse seal on Uchiha, he'd have to rely on the Kaguya for his next body jump. If he could keep the boy healthy. Tsunade, where are you? I have an injured subordinate who needs to be healed. I understand your trauma about this sort of thing. But don't worry, we just recently received objective proof that there is an afterlife. After all, the former Hokages were pulled from there by Orochimaru, personality intact. And, come to think of it, we might actually owe him for rescuing the fourth from eternal torment or whatever it is the Shinigami does. Tsunade nodded to the fox, not daring to speak. Something was stuck in her throat. Neji's soothing voice continued. And as for blood, seeing blood doesn't mean someone's dead, it means they're hurt. But anyone who still bleeds is still alive and can be saved. You're not going to let something you understand in every detail simply defeat you, are you? The last Senju fists clenched. Hell no. Blood is a conduit for power, a life-sustaining fluid, and a deep representation of a person, which is why it can be used for summoning. Most importantly, it is life, not death. Her patient gathered her strength and rose from the couch. She took out a kunai, steeled herself, sliced her thumb, and ran through the summoning technique. She stared in awe at the resulting slug, a foot or so long, when she was able to finish without freezing at the sight of her own blood. I did it. Thank you, Neji. That's why I'm here, the dichromatic fox said as he vanished in a cloud of smoke. Muttered the slug as he looked around. Is there something wrong because you haven't summoned any of us in years? And when did Minato get younger? Naruto's eyes blinked. Is there really that much of a resemblance? Sakura was holding the leaf. She had recently obtained a basic water technique, the violent water wave, from Kakashi, and through learning it, she had gained some understanding of how to use water chakra. However, the experiment with the element without conversion seals was not going well. Water. What exactly is water and what does it represent? Subtlety, flowing without coming into contact. Power is hidden, size is unknown, and depths are unknown. Versatility. Water makes the element ice more solid. It conveys power in boil. It creates movement in wood. It serves as a path in storm. It improves the user's grace when using weapons. Water is not the source of power, but rather its conduit, that which allows it to pursue the target. Her vision blurred for a moment, then the leaf was suddenly soaked. The Sakura of control looked around wildly in her mind. There was her warrior side, so who was in charge of her body? Hello? Both Sakuras turned to face the newcomer, surprised to hear a voice similar to theirs. They noticed a third Sakura, this one with deep blue eyes and a gentle demeanor. I suppose that must have surprised you, as it did me. I think we just created a new aspect for the water element. Me. Warrior let out a wild grin. Welcome to the party, then. Why do you appear so humble? Control raised her hand. I believe I understand. Her element is influencing her personality, just as yours is more brash than mine, and it's more her being subtle than anything. The water nodded. That makes a lot of sense, but does that mean we'll have to choose which of us is in use at any given time? Control indicated the chair. At least, not which one. Water turned with grace and precision, revealing that the single chair in their shared mind had been replaced by two. Warrior chimed in, nice. Does that mean we now have 2 out of 3? I believe so. Sakura blinked twice before rising from her seat and searching the seals for the violent water wave. When compared to her previous uses, the technique fired a massive blast of water, easily enough to be useful in combat. She tried the technique again, this time omitting the first hand seal with another quick blink. It misfired the first time, but the second time was perfect. Okay, being able to choose two elements, control and power, will be pretty cool. She had an idea, so she switched to power, control, and ran through the complex set of seals for chakra self-measurement. It was intended for one's chakra to flow through it from one side of the measurement structure to the other, and to quantify what went through as a point of light that shone with color. It rose to a meter in height as red, then returned to the ground as orange and went again, this time taking the chakra several times for the same rise. Naruto had tried once and had gotten a point that blazed through the entire rainbow in a second before passing out of human visual range. Kakashi had told him to stop the technique because they couldn't learn anything else useful, but the highest rank he'd reached was Kage. Not that it wasn't obvious from the way he tossed a Jonin level force multiplier technique around like confetti. Sakura's control was in the red, but her power was in the very low yellow zone. Now she's got something about middling on the yellow, so her two aspects combined produced at least a little more than they did separately. More importantly, it was enough for her to maintain a good illusion in combat. She could manage clones with split attention, but much more required far too much chakra for her control to supply. Or maybe I should look into utility techniques. Body flicker and replacement are both underutilized. Orochimaru charged up a mountainside. Is this where you've gone, Tsunade? I was going to offer you a business deal, sometime with Nawaki and Dan in exchange for healing one of my subordinates, and... What's the deal with the crater? Tsunade appeared shady. Nothing, and what were you saying? Jiraiya and Naruto ran down the mountain's other side. Naruto approached his godfather. Are you certain this is going to work? No, but old Roki has always been one to exploit known flaws, and if he tries to exploit her blood phobia on her, he'll get a nasty shock. Anything else, and Shizun'll have time to get us. Isn't this just an excuse to perv out in a big civilian town for a week? The Toad Sage appeared shady. Partly, right, Naruto said, sighing. Time for more Rasengan practice, then, I still haven't mastered using it without a clone. Kakashi sighed to himself and returned his gaze to the list they'd compiled. So far, he'd named every kami in Shinto, from major to minor, as well as all the legendary weapons and the majority of mortal heroes. This is ridiculous. It might not trigger like this at all, and I'll be on to mythical beasts soon. There's no reason for me to do this. Sasuke sighed and rolled his eyes. If you have a Mangekyo Sharingan, you're one of the people who can actually fight or negate another, and I'm curious about the restrictions on the powers, as Madara never set the first on fire. Fine, but you should get the Ainu Encyclopedia, because we'll soon be out of Kami and onto Kami. The list was swallowed up by a wormhole. Kakashi stared at the outcome for a few seconds before slowly collapsing. Sasuke nodded gratefully. That's not bad. How much chakra did that require? Medic? No blood either. You got the eternal Mangekyo from the transplant. Perhaps your friend felt as guilty as you did about losing your eye in those last minutes or something. Get me medical help, damn it, and cover my eye before you leave. Alright, let's look at you, Tsunade said, grabbing Kimimaro's arm and dragging him over to a small depression. Let's see, what are your symptoms? Sniffle, headache, maybe a cramp. Kimimaro locked his gaze on her. I am a Kaguya, and I rip my bones out of my body to use as weapons. The Senju nodded indifferently. Right, so you're probably calcium deficient. And I'm guessing you don't get any proper medical checkups for how a poorly understood bloodline interacts with tuberculosis, either. Orochimaru walked over, giggling. Don't think I haven't tried. Tsunade. His bodily structure is radically different from any other subject I could experiment on. Are you really capable of learning something without leaving a trail of corpses? Shizune inquired. Well, I tried once, but that was the whole incident with the wood element, the snake Sannin used absently. Turns out that injecting 60 orphans with a dangerous, untested serum that may or may not even involve the first genetic material was a bad idea. Even Kimimaro appeared dissatisfied. For the first time in my life, I'm glad I'm the last of my bloodline. Tsunade inquired. You didn't know if it contained his genetic material. By the time I got there, his body was mostly gone, and there were signs that the coffin had been opened before, several times. Shizune smirked. That's a little concerning. Tell me about it. The second was much more intact, but a quick test revealed no evidence of his water ability being an actual bloodline gift, and I lost interest. Orochimaru rambled. Worst of all, I couldn't find a single Uchiha body, and when I went after Itachi, well, let's not go there. Tsunade had mostly tuned out her former teammates' rambling, which was mostly focused on his widespread desecration of her family's graves. but something caused her to pause her diagnosis technique. Wait, how did you not get a Uchiha? There were about 300 of them. I have no idea, I thought Konoha had taken them all, but when the ninja forces failed to upgrade to Sharingan eyes like Kakashi, well, that was the end of that. Tsunade sighed and rolled her eyes, and I'm sure morality has nothing to do with it. Yes, Danzo is still alive. Kimimaro experimented with rolling his arms. I can actually move properly for the first time in years. Tsunade wiped her brow with her handkerchief. Take it easy for a while, which means no major combat, strenuous training, or opening the gates. But I don't open the gates, the Kaguya said, perplexed. You had severe damage to the tenketsu and tissue around the gate of pain, which is where strain builds up faster than any other gate, and is often seen on really serious taijutsu users. That kind of scarring is only found from being stabbed in the spine by a fire chakra blade. Orochimaru sighed, frustrated that he had to reveal one of his secrets. Kimimaro, the curse seal is a stabilized form of opening the gates. Normally, it would reverse the effects by promoting healing as the gate of life closed, but I assume it didn't work in this case due to your illness. Tsunade gave herself a nod. That would do it, but the damage is still quite severe, and because your lungs aren't toughened like the rest of your body, opening the fourth gate could result in massive rupture of the pleural cavity, which would be really bad. Right, now, Tsunade, Orochimaru said sarcastically, a promise is a promise. Mind getting your assistant over here? The technique does require a human sacrifice, and I'm out of sound genin after what I did to bring the Hokages back. Shizune fired a cloud of poison to obscure her position, and Tsunade frowned in mental effort. The slug beneath Naruto's jumpsuit fired a brief burst of acid and then dispersed. Even as it regenerated, Naruto reacted to the sting. Jiraiya, it's time. Brat, Jiraiya exclaimed as the two leapt from the building. Just like everyone else, give me a respectful name. I know you better than they do, Naruto replied, biting his thumb and summoning Ikamaru. Get up there and summon me right away. If you're sure. The silvery fox vanished in a cloud of displaced air. Jiraiya raised his head. Only you, kid, would use a summon to travel 2 miles. Naruto had left by the time the old man finished speaking. Orochimaru began by calling on Manda. It was a good first step, because his summoning also required a large amount of blood and would render Tsunade immobile. So he confidently slashed his thumb down his contract tattoo and summoned the most powerful of the snakes, along with 2 more as backup. Manda roared as he materialized. Where are my sacrifices, Orochimaru? You know I demand them. Orochimaru laughed. There's a town just downhill called Tanzakugai or something. It's big enough to feed you, but you'll have to kill Tsunade first, will you? The ground shook, and Orochimaru's gaze returned to the main battlefield. It wasn't a promising sight. Tsunade, instead of cowering in hemophobic shock, was summoning her own giant slugs. Kabuto had emerged from his hiding place and was delaying engaging Shizune until his anti-poison technique had run its course, and neither of his opponents were being killed by Kimimaro. Why? That's because the infernal Kyuubi Jinchuriki was attempting to knock him unconscious for attacking Granny. Uzumaki, I'm sorry. He remembered the brat's name from when Kabuto had reported to him. Brilliant. He'd enraged every surviving relative of the 3 deceased Hokages all at once, and they were all present. They're both of them. Jiraiya arrived on the battlefield at that point as a result of Gamabunta landing on one of his secondary summons. This was only getting better and better. Oh wow, exclaimed the Jinchuriki. Isn't this a big summon battle? I'll join in. Then a trio of foxes appeared, not quite the size of his own large snakes, but close, and began seriously attempting to fillet the other secondary snake summon. Orochimaru created clones of himself and drew the Kusanagi. He hadn't planned on fighting both of his former teammates, but he was confident he could win. So, what's the deal with you? Naruto inquired as a bone vanished against his chakra cloak. Kimimaro frowned angrily and took out another. I mean, that bone thing you're doing is disgusting, and I don't think it's healthy. It's a bloodline, the dead bone pulse, Kimimaro replied, trying to harden his bone sword to steal strength. A quick test revealed that it simply evaporated more slowly, and the other boy's dodging meant that it couldn't hit him before it became too degraded to be useful. It allows me to control the calcium in my bones. Wow, that's kinda cool. But still gross, aren't bloodlines found in families? Where's yours? I was the only Kaguya in a generation with this bloodline, and I was used as a weapon against the Mist people. I've heard that this was involved in strengthening the village's bloodline purges. Bloodline purges? That makes no sense. People with bloodlines fight better because they have a better chance of surviving long enough to gain experience. Why would anyone simply kill off all their best ninja? I'm not sure, but I believe the fourth Mizukage was involved. In any case, I owe my lord Orochimaru a great debt for rescuing me from a life of loneliness and misery. Naruto thought about this as his chakra-enhanced tail whipped around with barely a mental effort and intercepted a hail of finger bones. Seriously, that's not right, and I suppose if that's how you think, I can't argue with you. Kabuto was hit in the face by the other tail from his current shroud. And you, creepy glasses guy, get off my lawn and stop trying to hurt Shizune. A hail of senbon needles rained down on the traitorous Konoha ninja, and he was only able to block the majority of them, leaving him with an impressive set of piercings across his ears and cheeks. Lord Orochimaru, exclaimed Kabuto, we must withdraw. Orochimaru transformed into 3 mud clones, a water clone, a shadow clone, and 2 summoned snakes, unleashing another massive attack salvo that Jiraiya evaded with a summoned frog, 2 rank earth techniques, a Rasengan, and by unsealing a rank fire technique in a scroll to torch the summons. He was thrown for a brief moment. What is Akatsuki's leader doing here? Oh, wait, that's Kabuto with the piercings. What? Why, I've got this completely under control. Nanda landed next to him with a crash. Tsunade, struggling out of a large crater on the other side of the field, cursing, explained where he'd come from. Tsunade on full boost was fully capable of beating up a Biju, but the main issue was finding somewhere to stand to use it. I'm leaving, Orochimaru. The great serpent vanished in a cloud of smoke. Orochimaru shivered. Perhaps not completely. His clones had held their own on the battlefield, but when 3 different elemental great dragon techniques were launched at Jiraiya, the Toad Sage had had enough and unleashed his own trump card. With Jiraiya entering Sage mode and the Kyuubi Jinchuriki not even tired from fighting Kimimaro for 5 minutes, he decided to cut his losses and preserve his gains. With a quick signal to his subordinates, he vanished in a body flame technique with them. He liked it because it allowed for much longer range jumps than the flicker. It also looked nice. Jiraiya sighed as he exited Sage mode. Well, he's left. Tsunade grimaced. I don't know, Jiraiya. You seem to have lost your touch with all that nonsense about honored Sage mode and you being a sealing master. And you forgot to ward the battlefield against long-range teleports. The Toad Sage accepted the jab with a smile. And what about you, Tsunade? Whom did I see forgetting to harden the ground beneath her when she punched Manda? He came up behind Naruto. And did I see you having a little chat with that Kaguya in the middle of the battlefield? What was the point of that? Naruto shook his head. He hadn't actually hurt anyone else, and he seemed more unsure about how he couldn't hurt me than anything else. Besides, remember Gaara and Itachi. Most people tend to reveal useful things if I keep them talking. Tsunade shook his head. It's true, that seems to work with most people. I'm not sure if you heard, but old Snakey let slip that his curse seals are based on the inner gates, and that's gold. Is his old student still in Konoha? I think we should analyze the thing again with that tidbit. Naruto dashed over to his 3 summons. Are you alright, Joe? Ha. The 3 foxes grumbled in agreement. In fact, where do your names come from? Jiraiya paused. It sounds like it's related to plays. That was a 3-act play. Joe, Ha, Caillou. Naruto laughed. Nice one, guys. The largest of you is Ha, and the chain is completed by the only larger fox on the contract. Good morning, Sensei. Are you out of the hospital? Kakashi gave a nod. That move exhausted my chakra in seconds. I'm not sure if this Kamui. Kakashi collapsed as his forehead protector vanished into a miniature wormhole. He was apprehended by the medics. Wow, that was probably the quickest time anyone has ever been admitted to hospital twice for the same problem. Tsunade chuckled. You're kidding, she exclaimed, cuffing Jiraiya around the head as he reached for Shizune. And then the Uchiha on your team got his by a similar little reverse summoning, and your 3rd team member found a contract absolutely perfect for her in a backpack. Naruto gave a nod. Well, Cory found it, but Sakura certainly took to the contract well, and we're all Chunin, so we seem to be following in your team's footsteps. Brat, she exclaimed instinctively, but could you go over the animals again? Why? Jiraiya rubbed his temples. Oh, hold off on the super strength, Tsunade. You've replaced half of your yang chakra with spirit frog essence, you can take it. That's just mean, Jiraiya grumbled. As for what she was asking, our old team's summons had shaped our relationship in, at first, subtle ways. Naruto paused for a moment. Snake, frog, slug. Oh, I see. Jan, Ken, Pawn. Exactly. Snake beats frog, frog beats slug, and slug beats snake, though interestingly, when we were last a team, our personal battles would have gone the other way. At the time, I could beat Orochimaru, and so on. But our summons have no real connection, do they? Fox, Hawk, Otter. Tsunade's lips moved for a split second. Got it. They're distinct but equal, each the minor but still significant apex predator of a different environment. Land, air, water. Jiraiya appeared to be thinking. That could be encouraging, because if their summons personify the theme of their team dynamic, it'll be stable rather than dynamically unstable like ours was. That, and we're all terrified of Sakura. Hold on, Shizune said, his eyes crossing. You can make a Jinchuriki cloak, and another member of your team is a Uchiha, the last loyal one, if I recall correctly. And you're afraid of Sakura. She has some kind of mental aspect thing going on. She can be a bookworm with perfect chakra control 1 second and a taijutsu specialist the next. Hey, she hits hard. Aspect. Tsunade paused. Does Kami have blood? Probably. The old fox mentioned it. Something about potent divine heritage or something. Ah, Tsunade, nice to see you, Sarutobi said as he pushed his paperwork to the side. I understand that your godson there has done the same thing he does with everyone within 10 feet of him, and resolved most of your outstanding issues. Tell me, would you mind helping out in hospital in any way? I understand that, in addition to the normal cases and a rather unusual case of combat trauma in a Hyuga, Kakashi headache is in and out of the hospital every other day. Something about a technique that eats through most of his chakra in one use. Tsunade gave a nod. Wait a minute, where did this combat trauma come from? Naruto rubbed the back of his neck. I used my boss summon to swallow him whole during the Chunin exams, and I believe he was in divination circle mode at the time. The older ninja all winced. Does that mean? Izumo inquired from the mission desk. Yes, the Byakugan can provide 360-degree perception of a space, but I don't want to think about it. Alright, guys, I finally got this working so I can teach you. The Rasengan, Naruto formed one in his hand, is one of my father's 2 signature techniques, a rank ninjutsu that can basically chew through rock. But it's also incomplete. Sasuke's Sharingan eyes blinked. Are you serious? Nope. This is a shape transformation technique alone. It could theoretically be worked with nature transformation. But Dad apparently kept blowing up shadow clones and just stopped trying after a bit. Oh, by the way, if either of you two try and complete it, use a shadow clone. This thing's damn powerful as it is, and adding an element just makes things worse. Destabilization is like holding an explosive tag. Sakura laughed. You tried before, didn't you? The youngster scowled. Yep, just a smidgen of wind chakra and boom, he smiled. But it appears that both of you can manage at least the Rasengan at your current chakra level. So here's how it works. First, use your chakra to pop a water balloon by swirling it in multiple directions at once. One of the balloons was taken by Sasuke. It appears to be straightforward. Yeah, Jiraiya left out the second half of the sentence as a test. Freaking hermit. Sakura frowned as she selected one and chose power, control. You learned this in a month, and you can do it with one hand. More like 2.5 months, give or take a few years in clone time. The tricky part was getting my chakra swirling differently depending on the tenketsu in my hand. I got with a clone form of it in hours once inspiration struck and I filled in the gap. However, your control remains pitiful for your rank. This isn't a rank technique based solely on chakra manipulation, with no hand seals. You know, I've always substituted determination for skill. Sakura laughed and went to work. From alternating tenketsu, swirl it clockwise and anti-clockwise. The balloon was punctured and gradually emptied. That means you messed it up in some way. I'd guess one of the directions formed stronger than the others and ripped at its pole. Sakura took another balloon and paused before trying again, this time more slowly. Both directions at the same time. Juggle them carefully, and power them up. The balloon ripped as a result of a water wash. Wow, that's great. Only 2 goes, exclaimed Naruto. Wait a minute, I forgot to get the rubber balls for stage 2. Sasuke activated his Sharingan once more. Do you mind if I take a look at how it's supposed to form, you two? I don't have perfect control or clones to do it by trial and error. Sakura extended her hand and reformed it, as Naruto had already fled. She was brimming with new ideas on the inside. I know I have excellent control. So, what could I do if I could actually sense the chakra I use for feedback? I'll need to investigate how the village trains sensors, aside from those from the clans, such as the Hyuga, and the Yamanaka, and the Inuzuka. Wow, we have a lot of clans with sensory talent. I hope there are still classes for non-clan sensors. Sasuke was speaking once more. That's strange. I feel like, well, I can see it, but my eyes don't want to copy it or something. I think they can only copy complete seal sequences and work around the express chakra's mental aspect. That makes sense, and it explains why our sensei, is he still in the hospital, by the way, hasn't copied any techniques with fewer seals than usual. Sasuke agreed with a nod. He's still in the hospital, and every time he comes out, I have him practice his Kamui technique, and he goes right back in. Why? The Uchiha shook his head. Mostly retaliation for his training philosophy in Wave. If massive use of chakra accelerates growth, then nearly killing himself with that hilariously expensive technique should give him cage reserves within a year. That is evil, and I approve. Kakashi coughed. His students were once again discussing him. Damn Sasuke. If he's so enthusiastic about training, I'll put Guy on him. Shivering, Sasuke. Where did that incredible sense of foreboding come from? Alright, I got the rubber balls. This one's the same as the last one, but it's about making sure you can put enough chakra into the Rasengan without the water helping. I don't mind telling you that this was the easiest step of the entire process for me. I'm guessing the first ball just exploded with enough force to put shrapnel in the walls. Wrong. It was the second one. When I used Yaokai, I vaporized the first. Good news, said Kakashi to his 3 Chunin. I'm no longer in the hospital. Sensei, what's the name of your Manjikyo technique again? Sasuke asked, dropping his rubber ball. You're not going to get me with that one again, Kakashi grumbled. I categorically refused to train, and he noticed Sasuke's eagerness. Unspecified and completely unnamed technique any longer, so it still activates whenever you say the name. Then, Sasuke nodded. It's not my fault. Now, let's get to the point. You 3 have been hired, along with me, for a mission in the Land of Snow, most likely as a result of your performance in the exams. Essentially, they have a stubborn princess who is now an actor who needs to be brought back to her country to lead a revolution. Make a movie instead. Either way, really. Sasuke eventually spoke up for them, saying, what? I don't see the issue. This is either a C or an A ranking. I mean, remember what happened in Wave? Sakura explained. There was a revolution there, and while the Konoha ninja who went to help didn't have any issues, they could have if Zabuza and that fake Hunter Nin reappeared. The Hunter Nin was a forgery, said Naruto, frowning. Don't be concerned, Naruto. If you haven't figured it out by now, just forget it. Actually, Miss sent us a nice note saying that a lot of their missing nin are no longer missing, so Zabuza is back in the 7 Swordsmen. Kakashi coughed. Obviously, this means he's still alive. It appears that there was a revolution. They seem to be popular these days, and the cage was completely vaporized by a massive explosion. So, Sensei, who are the other 7 swordsmen? Sakura inquired. No one yet. But enough of that. It's more of a 1 swordsman right now. Kakashi shook his head. Let's get going to the port where we'll meet our client. And why did you assault our client? Kakashi inquired, his voice filled with laughter. Damn, we all got too caught up in that movie, said Sasuke. Naruto, stop the actress. Right? Ikamaru, Naruto said, flashing through a summoning. Will you put me in front of the woman on that horse? If that's what you're looking for. Alright, here you go. What is the strategy? Keen, be prepared for a replacement, Naruto said again. Throw an illusion trigger cloud across her path, Kori. Mo, stick with Keen until she figures it out. So you're planning a prank. We taught you well. Please, I have you for a reason. Princess Fuji rode desperately for safety. She couldn't return to Snow because she'd be killed, and even if all the people there suffered under her uncle's rule. She was too afraid. Her vision blurred, and she rubbed her eyes as she lowered herself onto her mount to speed up. Several minutes later, she felt her horse slowing. She'd been too focused on not hitting anything to notice where she was going, but now she could look around. She could see warehouses, the town skyline behind her, and a wharf ahead, including the ship her manager had chartered to go to Snow. Are we finished now? Came the voice from below her, and she looked down to see a red-furred back instead of the horse she expected. Here she is, Keen said to the Konoha team. Nice one, Naruto. She didn't notice it until I said something. Kakashi examined the princess, who was enthusiastically cuddling a fox with a pair of large, dewy eyes, seemingly oblivious to the world around her. She'll be out of it for a while. Might as well get her on the ship now. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck. That iceberg appears to be an ideal location for filming. The 3 Chunin exchanged glances before Sakura spoke up. I'll be close range. Sasuke will be support. Do that sensor thing, Naruto, and prepare your fire summons. I never bothered ending the summon on Keen. But point taken, Naruto said as he sat down and concentrated. Wow, the nature chakra here is very different from Konoha. Crisp and clear, sort of. Nothing certain, but there are some areas of higher than normal chakra concentration. He opened his eyes. Remain vigilant. You don't have to tell us, Naruto, Sasuke muttered, activating his eyes. Hey, actually, watching people act like this is pretty cool. I wonder if they'll do any special effects like that. What? Some sort of time-slowing device that allows you to see the flight of Shuriken. Is it Shirin time? That could work. Cute name. What the hell happened? Shield of the Chakras. To put that to the test, Sasuke fired a phoenix flower which resulted in a shimmer of chakra backlash, but no other effect. That's correct. It absorbs attack chakra to provide defense. Sakura launched a kunai at one of the snow ninja, which landed on the shield and bounced off. Your weapons are also ineffective. Wait a minute. Where's the chakra in a kunai? I think it also uses our own chakra to shield, Snow Kunoichi said, unsure. You can't get through it with just techniques, and we're generally invincible. Two of the snow nin launched ice attacks at Sakura, while the third launched ranged attacks at Sasuke, who responded with his own tools for the enemy kunai and fire attacks on the jutsu. Sakura was saved by a flaming fox that cannoned through the attacks and dispersed them, followed by Keen, who launched his own fire attacks in response. Thank you, Kajiura. Don't even think about it. Aya, yippee, boom, exclaimed the smaller fox from Keen's back. Although the snow ninja was immune to elemental attacks, being positively bathed in flame wasn't exactly pleasant. Naruto, get the film crew back on the boat, we're leaving soon. I wanted to test the limit of that armor, Naruto grumbled as his usual horde of clones carted everyone off the iceberg. Kakashi's contribution to the fight was to throw a Coppet Ice technique at the snow ninja, which Sasuke quickly began to do from the back of a hawk summon. As the ice finally cracked, Naruto's foxes dispersed, and Sakura hurriedly replaced herself with a somewhat startled Naruto clone to board the boat. Wow, Sakura, that was really cold. Oh, calm down. Besides, if I hadn't, I'd be adrift and on ice, all alone at sea. Those puns might have broken the ice, but they're not much good otherwise, Sasuke grumbled. Kakashi let out a heartfelt groan. What the hell is that? That's a train. Isn't that right? I have no idea what a train is, or what those colorful metal wagons from earlier are supposed to be. Who was the seal master who created the cinema, by the way? It's all technology, Naruto. Maintain your pace. If I could, I would. Why, if we have technology that can do all of this, does only Snow Country use it? Aside from refrigerators and televisions, which appear to be more complicated to me. Not sure, Kakashi blinked. Hell, pay attention to me, damn it, exclaimed Dodo. Naruto formed a quick seal and continued speaking as the train's sides opened to reveal kunai launchers. As I was saying, gusty barrier. Hundreds of clones formed and began seals. Nice one, Naruto, Sakura said as the kunai barrages were thrown everywhere but at the targets. When did you discover that one? One of my clones saw Team 10's sensei demonstrating something useful, so I asked him about it. He had no idea there was another wind affinity in Konoha. He was overjoyed. Then I just cloned it 50 times in a week, and here we are. Sakura attempted to calculate how much time Naruto had spent practicing the technique. What, a year? Not at all. All it means is that I have a perfect training day 7 days in a row. I've always learned quickly. Tell me about it. Wait, is Asuma Sarutobi Konoha's only other wind affinity? Seriously, wind in general is pretty rare, and we live in the land of fire, so elementally wind is at a disadvantage, Kakashi said, nodding. Retreat and get the airship, you fools. Daten yelled. I have no idea why Naruto allowed himself to be captured, Sasuke said, shaking his head. Easy, snickered one of the remaining clones on the ground. This way, the boss will be taken to the castle, and he will be able to bring you along with him. But will he be able to escape? Or perhaps summon? Sakura paused for a moment before responding. Right, stupid question. He can shapeshift and has 9 chakra tails in his gut. Exactly. 3, 2, 1, and I've had enough. Naruto gently pushed against his second chakra source. Princess Kazuhana exclaimed, what are you doing? As the entire prison lit up like a Christmas tree, and then the less well-buffered absorption arrays began to explode. And actually putting forth some effort. The door's seal tag exploded, doing nothing to the Jinchuriki but conveniently blowing the door down for him, and the manacles gave way. You know what to do, Naruto said, dropping his tailed state. Right, we might as well attack now, Kakashi sighed as his other 2 Chunin vanished in smoke. I really should look into joining that whole reverse summon network they've got going. It's okay, Naruto, I knew it. I'd die if I came back here. Daten hurriedly disappeared up into his airship before the seal arrays could completely overload. Naruto responded by punching out a tail of forming chakra at the black chakra armor, and took some considerable satisfaction as it began to glow red hot. That would have been fun. Where's your necklace, princess? He grabbed it. He must be about to unleash my father's secret ultimate weapon. You know, technically, I'm the ultimate weapon here, Naruto sighed. It's some kind of sealing technological marvel. I'm not sure what it is. Daten could do whatever he wanted with it. Alright. I suppose regime change is a worthy goal. Does this mean we'll be in the next movie? Well, take a look at that. It's a light show generator. Never mind that, grumbled Daten. I'm still going to get rid of you. And then the two of his chakra armored ninja were struck by lightning bolts and died, while the third, the Kunoichi, looked around wildly for a split second before a blizzard of kunai depleted her chakra shield and killed her. Ceasefire, Naruto clones, Sakura exclaimed. I knew having you collect all those kunai would be useful. And it turns out that they can't really handle the lightning element, Sasuke said as he banked his Thunderbird overhead. That makes sense. Daten was taken aback by the disaster and exclaimed, what? The chakra armor is unbreakable. This is kinda cool. Now I want to see what it does, Naruto said as he spun up a Rasengan and watched it collect the local, rainbow effect chakra. Just give it a shot, brat. Your teammates might have defeated my subordinates, but my black chakra armor is far more powerful. Drink prismatic Rasengan. Oh, heck. Enough of that. Hey, it appears he hit the light show machine, and he broke the ice. And, what? A pulse of power radiated from the machine, and the entire country was transformed into the perfect image of springtime in seconds. Whatever the hell. That is not natural. Sakura examined it. This is strange. I can almost read this. It appears to speak of the glory of spring to the land of snow. I don't see anything, Sasuke said as he dismounted from his hawk. No, I'm referring to the seals themselves. No, I lost it. Whatever it was, I no longer see it. I'm more concerned about the origins of the animals. I mean, come on, Naruto exclaimed. Butterflies. Hello, Sasuke. Have you finished the Rasengan? I think I might try adding an element to it. Actually, Sasuke nodded. How difficult can it be? It's your choice. Just use a shadow clone. I guess you stole that from me. No, you can do it with fewer seals, whereas I can only copy entire seal sequences. Huh, makes sense, I suppose. Naruto went through the entire normal sequence for the shadow clone and only made one this time. Thank you, Sasuke said, forming a shadow clone that began to focus fire chakra into the Rasengan's whirling ball. Boom. Debris rained down on them, and Sakura quickly used a water technique to extinguish the raging fire. Wow, I see what you're saying. I'm not going to try it myself. Our next mission is to escort someone having a foot race, said Naruto, puzzled. This is truly heartbreaking. Yes, Sakura read, someone called. Idate Morino. Is Morino your date? As in the Ibiki character who attempted to traumatize all of us. You know, I don't know, Sakura said, tapping her chin. Could be. Let's go ask him. How? Grumbled Sasuke. Alright, then. Let us not bother him. Wait a minute. Look, Naruto said, pointing to the bottom of the mission scroll. A storage seal? Sakura asked, flipping it over. Let's see. Another scroll appeared. Ibiki got his scars this way. Apparently, some instructor convinced his brother to steal the Raijin from Konoha because the instructor promised him a promotion if he did. Sounds familiar, Naruto sighed. Raijin, said Sasuke immediately. In other words, the legendary sword of the second Hokage. I believe. Dibs. So dibs. I'd like to have that sword. Sure, but why? Said Naruto, surprised. That sword made the second almost unbeatable on the battlefield. He was a water element, so chakra can clearly be converted to lightning element chakra. I can use the Chidori 2 or 3 times per day. This would accomplish what the Chidori does for free or very little cost. I want that sword. Naruto took a step back. Wow, you're coming on a little strong there. There aren't many legendary weapons. Kusanagi and Seiknagi are 2 of Orochimaru and Itachi's. I am very interested in getting one for myself. Seiknagi, I'm not certain, but it's in the brochure. So, I think we can assume the guy with the Raijin is the bad guy, then, Sakura said brightly. It's better than that. This scroll contains photos as well as a note from Ibiki that reads, "Get that bastard who screwed with my brother." That's just not fair, Naruto. What? Naruto inquired from his palanquin. He'd built one out of scraps and was having a dozen shadow clones carry him so that if or when they had to fight after racing alongside Idate, he'd be rested. It appears as if you're taunting the racers. I could have a fox or 3 parallel the course, but this sounds better to me. I get to watch the race while keeping an eye on those rain genin. One of them is still glaring at me. Sakura nodded. She couldn't argue with logic, not with other pressing matters. Are those the same rain genin from the exams, then? Were they the ones from whom Kori stole the Otter Contract? Damn, you could be right. Better keep them hidden. Ew. Hello, Rain Genin. Isn't that Oboro? Naruto was nervous. Ew. My contract was stolen. Return it. How did it get stolen? There were no living signatories, and you'd tossed it in the bottom of a bag. Besides, I can't return it because I don't have it. Who does, then? Oboro was practically shaking with rage. She does, Naruto said, pointing to Sakura. Many thanks, Naruto. At any time. I'll get him later, Sakura sighed. The thing is, I don't think you're the right fit for them. They seem pleased with me, and you're not the type of person who would fit them if I were. We're very different. If you perform the summoning technique without a contract, you are sent to the land of the most appropriate summon, Sasuke said, tapping Oboro on the shoulder. You could give it a shot. Alright, I'll do it. And if I'm sent to Otterland, you're giving the contract right back. Oboro swallowed a soldier pill, flipped through the hand seals, and then vanished. And zero, Sasuke thought to himself. Boom. What happened, Sasuke? Sakura inquired. I planted an explosive note on him with a 20-second fuse and forced him to leave the area where there are witnesses. Fiendish and a little ruthless. Thanks. Meanwhile, Naruto was chatting with Mubai and Kagari, saying, What? Your cage wears a slashed headband. That makes no sense. He's God. He and his angel can do whatever they want. I thought most people were polytheists, you know, gods descended from Izanami and Izanagi and all that. I have a soft spot for Inari. The majority are. But we are no longer, because Pain, our god, and his angel have shown us the error of our ways by slaughtering the false gods and their vile servant, the salamander. And I thought people thought my ramen obsession was weird. Naruto shook his head. In the oil-producing squid's homeland. Think, where am I? Oboro wondered aloud. He heard a hissing and looked down to see the tag on his clothes. Oh, son of a. When one of the squids noticed him, its eyes widened. Boom. FWOOM. BABABABABOOM. Woo, someone did a really good prank somewhere. Sneezed Kin. A rain headband whizzed by. Alright. Just goes to show that 3 Chunin who were promoted too soon can't take down a Jonin. AI chuckled to himself. I'll make every effort to kill you with the most powerful weapon I have. The Raijin, the lightning god's sword. The traitor took the legendary sword's hilt from his pocket and lit it, the legendary sword crackling to life. Everything happened all at once. The 3 Konoha Chunin of Team 7 vanished in smoke clouds, and a hawk flew by at head height and bit Aoi's fingers, followed by another and larger one, and Sasuke astride it snatched the Raijin out of the air. Naruto emerged from the tunnels with a tiny fox on his head, which Sakura replaced as it jumped out of his hair, and she began providing cover as he charged the stunned Jonin with a Rasengan in each hand. AI, it turned out, wasn't the best Jonin. Well, that went well, Sakura exclaimed cheerfully. Are you telling me? We were able to assist Ibuki's brother and bring him closure, we completed the mission, and Sasuke now has his sword. You will be my sword, which is a good thing because Raijin is a good sword, and is being creepy, and the land of T feels indebted. 2. Wait a sec. Because he failed the Chunin exams, Idate was unable to become a Chunin. Yeah, so. Sakura shrugged. When? At what point in the exam can you fail for good? Perhaps the question from Ibuki. No, you passed if you took it. Huh? I'm not sure. Okay. I have an urgent request for Team 7. Orochimaru's spies apparently broke into the village and stole the still traumatized Neji Hyuga. He didn't put up much of a fight. Shouldn't they be kidnapped? Sakura asked, raising her hand. When someone is that strict, they are stolen. Anyway, they're on their way to the village of Hidden Sound in the land of Rice, and you've been assigned to find him. Sand has been requested for assistance, but it may not arrive in time. You have no chance of getting out of here. I'll drain your chakra dry. Jirobo chuckled. Jirobo began to sweat, seized up, and fell backwards as the earth dome began to vibrate and glow red. A pair of monstrous chakra arms ripped through the top of the earth's dome and began ripping pieces off. As Naruto tore the dome down, the Sound 3 split up and began running for it. You could have done that a lot faster, grumbled Sasuke. Yeah, but this way appears to be better. Alright, we'll follow them. Let us know if you figure out where the barrel is, Sakura said. Wait a minute, barrel. Sasuke smirked. One of my clones spotted the barrel just before it popped, and they appear to have put Neji in it, Naruto explained. I'm not sure why, but it's probably easier to carry him that way. Okay, Sasuke thought. Take the guy with 2 heads, Naruto, Sakura, Kunoichi, and I will handle the freaky arms guy. Our blood limit allows us to merge with your body and... The violent eruption of Milla's chakra burned Yukin out of his system, and Sakin gulped. What happened to brother? I'm not sure, but it appeared unpleasant. Kankuro walked into the clearing with his 2 puppets, one of which was reassembling itself after a nasty little finisher. Wait, are you reinforcements? Naruto inquired. Yes, Konoha's friends. Naruto paused. Is that all you're saying? In general, yes. That reminds me of something. My siblings are also with me. Temari went northeast and Gaara went north. How is Gaara doing? In fact, I heard he was after Kazekage. Yeah, it makes sense. I can use the entire desert as a weapon, and all the other Kazekage have Ikabai-based powers as well, so I cut out the middleman, he says in his campaign slogan. Nice. In our case, it appears that every Jinchuriki has at least married a cage. Teuya laughed. See, I use pure chakra puppets, so there's nothing for you to destroy. And don't think you can sever the animation strings, there aren't any. She played a few notes, and the hulking monsters moved ponderously to attack Sakura. Sakura responded by blinking, forming a Rasengan, and substituting Teuya's flute. Temari hopped into the clearing a few seconds later. The sand. She then took a look around. You, how are you, Temari? Did you make Chunin? Actually, I did. The council decided that my refusal to fight Konoha during the invasion was a sign of foresight. And to be honest, I think the prospect of fighting that weapon girl scared them as well. Neat, Sakura said, blinking, performing a water camping technique, and cleaning herself of sound ninbits. Oh, that's going to make me feel bad for days. In desperate arcs, Sasuke swung the Raijin. Kimimaro was raining spiders, spider-based weapons, and the occasional natural Kevlar arrow. His lovely lightning sword helped, as it could absorb anything elemental and electrocute anything that wasn't. But even his 3-3 at 12 Tomo Sharingans weren't enough to keep him in the game. Is he made of caffeine or something? Yeah, feel the wrath of my best equipment loadout, NB. Kimimaro exclaimed before being interrupted by a low voice from behind him. Shinobi. An enormous sandstorm landed on him, and he had no idea what happened next. You summoned the Shukaku on top of him. Sasuke wondered. Gaara returned the stare. It worked. Tell your teammate I'd like his address. I'm looking for a pen pal. Sure, I'll do it, but we'd better get Neji out of that barrel first. Sasuke carefully sawed at the final slip of paper, wincing as the seal failed, causing an intense flare of chakra in his Sharingan. That was surprisingly difficult to open. Agreed, your sword was useful for it, though it appears to have cracked slightly during the battle. Sasuke double-checked it. There was, indeed, a tiny nick in the blade. He frowned and switched the sword off and on again. There is no nick, so it can be repaired, which is convenient. Neji flinched. Sasuke looked at him. Are you feeling well enough to speak again? Gaara smirked. Please accept my apologies. I believe the barrel he was in was also beneath the Shukaku. Orochimaru looked at his watch. Shouldn't the Sound 4 have returned by now? Kabuto shook his head. How's that flame Rasengan going, Sasuke? How's your water 1, Sakura? Naruto inquired as he entered the new training ground to which Team 7 had been assigned. The third had directed them to one of the areas devastated by the invasion because they were working on technique experimentation and blowing things up on a regular basis. Sasuke was experimenting with shape manipulation on the Raijin in an attempt to find the source of chakra it represented. Naruto checked it out and discovered that it converted nature chakra, making it the closest thing to a free weapon there was. His clone was staring at a Rasengan with an active Sharingan, twitching before sighing. The original Uchiha examined the situation. Hey Naruto, I'm having to use my eyes' predictive abilities to tell when this thing is about to explode, because it wastes less shadow clones. If I'm about to do something that will cause it to blow up, I can just not do it. Sakura smirked. Isn't that an information paradox? Says Naruto. Because the Manjikayo Sharingan is known to be capable of warping space enough to form a wormhole, time paradox isn't all that far-fetched, Sasuke observed. What are you up to? Naruto responded with a swarm of 1,500 clones that spread across the training grounds and began to explode. Wind Rasengan, how about you, Sakura? I'm actually working on another element rather than my first because the last time I got an element, it expanded my available aspects. So I'm hoping to keep a three-way split if I develop enough orthogonal powers. She went through a set of seals and produced a fairly pathetic breeze. Non-native elements irritate me. Sasuke smirked. That's actually quite good. My eyes ensure that the conversion works, but the chakra cost skyrockets for anything other than fire or lightning. Sasuke crossed his eyes as a muffled boom echoed across the training grounds. Clone ran out of chakra from the Sharingan and blew up the Rasengan, so that's, let's see, 30% of my supply gone. Medical skills. Sakura wondered. Might be good. Plays to my strengths. Naruto, do you think you could get me an introduction to your great aunt? You mean Granny Tsunade? Sure, I'll see what I can do. Naruto renewed his clones and pointed to a group of 50. Go ask Asuma-sensei about learning more wind attacks. Sasuke raised an eyebrow, knowing the Fox code on technique mastery. You got the gusty barrier to the point it's one seal. Yeah, all those clones using it in snow were really helpful on that front. You have a stone that channels strange energy. At Temujin's nod, Sakura rolled her eyes. Right. Hey, Naruto, Sasuke. This guy's never heard of chakra. It's not chakra, it's jello energy. What exactly does it do? It allows people to create illusions, fire elemental power blasts, and regenerate. Naruto nodded and casually slid open his hand, holding it open as it steamed and closed. Chakra, the seal is bound by my blood. If I use it, it will seal the vein. But it means I will surely die. Naruto sighed and rolled his eyes. Right, give me a little of that, and I'll send a shadow clone to deliver it. Is it just me, or is everyone so unimaginative? Wind, Sakura reflected, attempting to regain her previous sense. Wind flows, cuts, and bludgeons. It's an element of finesse, a fine touch, and the vast, seething mass of air that extends above us. It is the sharpness in ice. It can be the presence, the absence, or the thin line between the two. It is both the most versatile and the most rare. It's the wind, a wrenching, and the three Sakuras greeted their fourth member, a long-haired girl with a spring in her step and silk clothes that blew in the breeze. Well, it was strange, Sakura mumbled. You're telling me, curry of life, that ostrich, the land of birds, hidden star. And I didn't like the whole Naruto is virulently contagious thing either. You know I have so much chakra that if there was a virus that turned chakra against the subject, I'd basically explode. Sasuke appeared upbeat. Surprisingly, well, here's hoping the next mission is actually interesting, and not like the chakra liquid incident. How come it took you 10 minutes to think of using the Ragen on it? What can I say? It was truly disgusting. Team 7, you're being sent with temporary extras to help save the current frontrunner in their election, Gaara of the Desert, because one of you has the closest connections to hidden sand we have. If we're going to save Gaara, let's go right now. The others can catch up, right? Naruto said, turning to face Sasuke. Can you go take knee on a hawk, or is it faster for me to use Ikamaru? Calm down, Naruto. The sand is far enough away that a few minutes either way won't matter. Naruto sighed and rolled his eyes. And yet, it always does. Always. Have you ever arrived 2 hours early or 3 hours late to a battle? It's always minutes. Fair point. Okay, off you go. Temari backed away from Kyujaku, the strange woman's swords allowing her to match the Sand Kunoichi's wind control. Even her powerful fan couldn't help her enough. Sasuke was the first to arrive on the battlefield clone, his airdropped shadow clone being instinctively taken out by Kyujaku as it approached, leaving an unstable flame Rasengan, which promptly blew up and merged with her wind control layers. Temari grimaced as the massive fireball engulfed her adversary. Oh, brutal? Is this how your entire team is now? Sasuke's mount descended to head height. I'm a little more than Naruto. Sakura's somewhere in the middle, but he still won't tell me how he beat that Sound 4 member. Temari gave a nod. Oh, hold on. It appears that the swords survived the explosion. Sasuke descended from his hawk and approached. Yep, both of them. They're both wind-natured in my opinion, and Naruto's wind element. Want one? That sounds good. That reminds me, Sasuke said as he tossed one of the swords to Temari. Naruto instructed us to say this soon as allies. Temari sighed. You're never going to let us forget that, are you? Naruto might. In a few years, Kankuro arced his remaining puppet around Ryugen, trying to stay far enough away to avoid the Garian sword's attacks. Ryugen laughed. You sand puppeteers are never strong enough to fight on your own. You always rely on your pathetic little puppets. Kankuro retreated from a strike. Then drop your sword, and we'll call it a day. This sword is one of Takumi Village's most prized weapons, and I will never give it up. His arm was pinned to the ground by a javelin. Sakura emerged from the trees, accompanied by otters. Nice situational awareness there. Ryugen clenched his fists in rage and activated his sword's special mode once more, transforming it into a dragon that lunged for Sakura. He then delivered a vicious chop to the back of the neck. As the attack reached Sakura's clone, it dispersed. It appears that my illusions are still in good working order. Who would have thought that a sound displacer would help so much? Oh, and the leaf. Kankuro gave a nod. I like a good illusion. What was that last one? It's transparency, sound displacement, and that sort of thing. It means that a lot of the tells that give away a clone aren't there because you're just walking normally while transferring them to the clone. His chin was stroked by the puppeteer. I might give it a shot sometime. Good luck. It takes an aspect for me to pull it off. Suiko laughed as he noticed another person arrive to fight him. If the Jinchuriki of sand couldn't penetrate his infinite armor, how could another ninja hurt him? Naruto came to a stop. Hey Gaara, what's his personality like? He depletes chakra. I don't think I have enough to overpower his armor like you did in the exams, right? Naruto grinned and said, charge. It's hopeless, my infinite armor will. Suiko looked down at his armor as Naruto's one-tail state locked him in a bear hug. Boom. Infinite armor fragments rained down on the battlefield. Shinobi, summoning death from above, Naruto said, then noticed another man at the edge of the clearing. Hoki of Takumi blinked, still stunned by the infinite armor exploding, before being flattened by a falling no. Impressive, Gaara said. We need to find my student. She is likely distraught. What? From the kidnapping? No, from not having as many opportunities to fangirl over me. You have fangirls now, blinked Naruto. Then he grinned and said, nice work. So tell me again why you think removing him from the village is a good idea. It'll give me the opportunity to teach him as much as I know, and to let him gain experience in the outside world. Jiraiya said with a winning smile. Sarutobi simply stared at his former student. Alright, that'll get him out of your village while he experiments on potentially explosive techniques, with more chakra to freely access than most Biju and thousands of clones. In that case, approved, get him out of town until things calm down. Your guy, right. Lee's teacher, Yash. Naruto Uzumaki, that's who I am. What would you like to discuss with me? Well, I'm off on a training trip soon, and I was wondering if you'd be able to teach me how to open the first gate before I leave? Naruto nodded. The gates are extremely damaging, Guy grumbled. What motivates you to learn? Well, I heal really quickly, regenerate, that sort of thing. And my other teacher, not Kakashi, pointed out that muscles grow by being torn and then healing. So, if I use the gate strain to tear up my muscles a lot and then regenerate them a lot, I could get a lot stronger. I can't say I've thought of that one before, but it sounds like a plan. The green beast rubbed his chin. The first gate is the simplest to open, but I doubt you'll be able to master it in a single day. I am serious about learning this, sensei. 500 Narutos appeared. I'm hoping that having hundreds of clones trying will be enough, as I only need to know how to perform the primary lotus. That's excellent. Let us allow your youth to explode. Naruto smirked at Guy's surprise as one of the shadow clones detonated. He'd been waiting for that line for a long time, and had overloaded a Rasengan with wind just to annoy the Jonin. As a result, your time will be divided into several sections. Your own experimentation, of course, but also my speciality, covert operations and spying. And a better taijutsu style for your specialities and skills. Add some elemental techniques in earth and wind, you hit the jackpot on that one. By the way, the only element you might struggle with is fire, and finally see if we can stabilize your Jinchuriki states above 3 tails. Ideally, you should be able to maintain pure chakra cloak up to at least 6, as the Nanabi Jinchuriki did in the last big war, and then be able to shift into secondary form as low as 2. I do have a style, the fox one, Naruto said, nodding. It's primarily based on their body form, so it's not ideal for humans, but it does emphasize tactical thinking and ambush. Never engage in combat when your opponent is aware of your presence. The frog style might fit you as well if you ever stabilize Sage mode, Jiraiya said after accepting the comment. It focuses on long distance, high-speed movement followed by single devastating attacks. It could actually complement the fox ambush specialization. One for human form, one for non-human form. That sounds good. So, where are we going now? Jiraiya frowned. Why not begin with the land of water and work your way up? I hear their civil war is over.
So this was it for today. I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.